The sun was setting behind the alien forest, painting the sky with orange and purple light. The air was quiet except for the sound of the river, rushing fast and loud. On the rocky bank stood a small boy, barefoot and thin, his clothes worn and patched. He was an orphan, alone in a world that did not care for him. Humans did not want him. Aliens did not trust him. He lived on scraps of food, moving from place to place, never knowing if tomorrow would bring kindness or cruelty. But he had learned to survive. He had learned to listen, to watch, and to stay away from danger. The boy often came to the river when he felt most lonely. The river was wild and dangerous, but it was also alive. Its endless roar made him forget his hunger and pain. Sometimes he would throw stones into the water, just to see the ripples fight against the current. Sometimes he would whisper secrets into the wind, pretending someone was listening. This was his secret place, a place where no one could hurt him. That evening, as the sun sank lower, something felt different. The boy heard a strange sound beneath the river's roar. It was not the splash of a fish or the cry of a bird. It was heavy, uneven, like someone struggling to breathe. The boy froze, his small hands tightening around a broken stick he carried for protection. He crouched low, his sharp eyes searching the shadows near the water. Then he saw it. Across the rushing river on the far bank, a figure lay close to the water's edge. At first he thought it was a fallen tree, but then the figure moved, lifting its head with great effort. The boy's heart jumped. It was not human. The skin was pale silver, glowing faintly in the fading light. The head was larger than a human's, the arms long and thin. The boy knew at once it was an alien. He had heard many stories of them. The tribe that lived deep in the forest was proud and powerful. They walked with strength, spoke with wisdom, and guarded their borders with sharp spears. Humans were not welcome in their land. If they caught a human child, even a helpless one, they would show no mercy. Fear gripped him. He knew the safe choice was to run, to hide before he was seen. But then he noticed something else. The alien was old, very old. Its back was bent and one of its legs looked twisted, useless. The alien elder was trying to cross the river but could not. Again and again it tried to push itself forward, but the water was too strong. Each time it moved, the current threatened to drag it under. The boy could see the elder's hands trembling, its breath short and weak. If no one helped, the alien would not survive the night. The boy's chest tightened. He was just a child, alone and powerless. Helping the alien could mean death if the tribe discovered him, but leaving the elder to drown felt wrong. He remembered something faint like a dream, his mother's voice, soft and warm, whispering to him long ago. "Kindness is never wasted, my son. Even if the world is cruel, you must not be." His father's hand, rough but gentle, placing a loaf of bread in the hands of a starving neighbor. His parents had believed in goodness even when it cost them everything. The boy looked at the alien elder again. The creature was no enemy now. It was just a tired soul, broken and weak, fighting to live one more day. The boy's heart pounded. He had nothing, no family, no home, but maybe he still had one thing left, the choice to help. He stepped closer to the water. The river hissed and pulled at the rocks. If he tried to swim, he would be swept away. He needed another way. His sharp eyes scanned the riverbank. Vines hung from the nearby trees. Long branches lay scattered across the ground. The boy's mind began to race. He had built small rafts before, just to float them for fun. Maybe he could build one big enough to carry the alien. He ran to gather vines and branches. His hands moved fast, tying knots the way his father once showed him. His thin arms shook with the effort, but he did not stop. The sky grew darker, and the shadows of the forest stretched long and cold. The sound of the river grew louder, as if warning him to give up. But he would not. Not tonight. At last, a shaky raft floated before him, held together by vines and hope. The boy dragged it to the edge of the water. Across the river, the alien elder had fallen still, its head bowed low. Was it already too late? Fear clawed at him. If he failed, no one would ever know. The elder would vanish beneath the waves, and he would be left with nothing but regret. He pushed the raft into the water, his heart racing. The current grabbed it at once, pulling hard. The boy jumped on, gripping the vines tight. The river splashed high, cold and merciless, soaking him to the skin. The raft shook, sliding toward the center. The boy's breath came fast. Each second felt like forever. On the far bank, the alien elder lifted its head again. Its eyes, glowing faintly in the dark, locked on the boy. For a long moment they stared at each other, an orphan child and a dying alien. Two lives, two worlds bound by a single moment on a wild, angry river. The boy whispered to himself, his teeth chattering from fear and cold. Hold on. I will reach you. And as the raft tilted dangerously, the river roaring like a beast beneath him, he knew his life was about to change forever. The raft shook as the boy clung to it, his arms aching from the pull of the river. The water slapped against his face, stinging his eyes, and the cold cut through his skin like knives. But he did not let go. Ahead, the alien elder still waited, lying weak and broken on the far bank. Every second, the river tried to drag the raft away. But the boy fought against it, kicking with his feet and using a broken branch as a paddle. Finally, after what felt like forever, the raft scraped against stones near the far side. The boy leapt onto the wet ground, pulling hard to drag the raft closer. His chest burned with effort, but he forced himself to move. The elder raised its head, its large silver eyes staring at him in silence. There was no anger, no threat, only confusion. The boy dropped to his knees beside the elder. Up close, he could see how fragile the creature was. The alien's skin was cracked in places and its leg bent the wrong way. The boy could hear the elder's breathing, shallow and rough like wind passing through broken reeds. For a moment, the boy hesitated. Fear returned. What if the alien tribe saw him? What if they believed he had attacked the elder instead of helping? The thought of sharp alien spears piercing his small body flashed through his mind. He could still run. He could leave now, slip back across the river, and no one would ever know. But the elder's eyes followed him, and something inside those glowing orbs stopped him. It was not hatred he saw. It was not mistrust. It was something softer. Pain, maybe, and a strange kind of hope. The boy remembered his mother's voice again. Kindness is never wasted, my son. He bit his lip, then reached out his trembling hand. I will help you, he whispered, though he doubted the elder understood human words. The alien blinked slowly, as if to say it had heard. The boy wrapped the elder's long arm around his shoulders. The weight was heavy, far heavier than he expected. His small frame bent under the burden, but he gritted his teeth and pushed forward. Step by shaky step, he dragged the elder onto the raft. The vines creaked, the wood groaned, but it held. The river roared in front of them, darker now under the night sky. The boy's stomach twisted with fear. He had crossed once, but could he cross again with this weight? He stared at the raging water, his heart pounding. The river seemed alive, angry that he dared to challenge it again. For a long time he stood frozen, the elder lying silently behind him. Doubt whispered in his mind, "You are only a child. You will drown. The alien will drown. No one will remember you." But another voice deep inside him whispered back, "If you do nothing, he will die anyway. And you will carry that guilt forever." The boy clenched his fists. He would not let fear win. He would not let the elder die alone. With trembling hands, he pushed the raft back into the current and climbed aboard, pulling the elder with him. The river grabbed them at once, dragging the raft sideways. Water splashed high, soaking them both. The raft shook violently as if it might split apart. The boy paddled with all his strength, shouting at himself to keep moving. His arms felt like fire, his chest like stone, but he did not stop. Beside him, the elder coughed, a strange sound like broken glass rattling. The boy pressed on, determined. Halfway across, the water grew wilder. Waves slammed into the raft, nearly knocking them over. Suddenly, a dark shadow moved beneath the surface. The boy's eyes widened. He remembered the stories whispered by hunters. Great serpent-like beasts lived in this river, feeding on the weak and unwary. The shadow circled them closer and closer. The raft tipped dangerously. The boy's heart thudded so hard he thought it might burst. He had no weapon, no strength left. All he had were stones in his pocket, the same stones he always kept to throw at birds or fish. With shaking hands, he grabbed one and hurled it into the water. The splash drew the shadow away for a second, but then it returned even closer. He threw another stone and another, his arms trembling. Each splash distracted the beast, but the stones would soon run out. The elder stirred, lifting a trembling hand. In a weak, cracked voice, it spoke in its alien tongue. The boy did not understand the words, but the sound was steady, filled with command. The water around them rippled strangely. The shadow slowed, circling wider as if listening. The boy stared in awe. Even broken and weak, the elder still carried power. Whatever it had whispered, the beast obeyed. The shadow sank back into the depths, vanishing. The raft lurched forward again, lighter now without the threat. The boy paddled, his arms nearly numb, until at last the raft scraped against the stones of his side of the river. They had made it. The boy collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. His whole body shook, every muscle screaming in pain, but he smiled just a little. He had done it. He had saved the elder. The alien lay still on the raft, its eyes half closed. For a long moment, the boy thought it had died after all. But then the elder turned its head toward him and whispered, weak but clear. Why? The boy froze. He had not expected the elder to speak his language. His voice cracked as he answered, because you needed help. The elder's glowing eyes studied him in silence. The night grew darker, the forest whispering with unknown sounds. But the boy felt no fear anymore. He had made his decision, and nothing would ever be the same again. The boy sat on the riverbank, soaked and trembling, his chest rising and falling as if his heart would break free. Beside him, the alien elder lay weak, its long fingers curled like dry branches. The boy stared at the creature, still unable to believe what had happened. He had crossed the wild river twice. He had faced the current, the cold, and even the shadow in the water. And he had not died. But the question still echoed in his mind. The elder had spoken one word. Why? Why had he helped? Why had he risked his life for a stranger? And not just any stranger, but one from the tribe that despised his kind. The boy had no clear answer. His mouth had said the truth, because you needed help. But in his heart, he felt something deeper, something he could not yet explain. The elder's glowing eyes watched him in silence. It was strange. Those eyes did not look like the eyes of an enemy. They looked ancient, filled with memories the boy could not imagine. For a moment the boy forgot his fear. Then the water behind them stirred. The boy's head snapped toward the river. The surface rippled unnaturally, as if something massive moved below. His body froze. He remembered the shadow, the great serpent-like beast that had circled them before. He had thought it was gone. He was wrong. The elder whispered something in its own tongue. The sound was like wind blowing through stone. The boy could not understand the words, but he felt the meaning. Warning, danger. The river erupted, a huge creature burst from the surface, its scales glistening like wet iron. Its head was wide, with eyes like molten fire, and its mouth opened to reveal rows of curved, dagger-sharp teeth. Water crashed around it as it rose higher, its long body coiling like a living mountain. The boy's blood turned to ice. His small hands dug into the dirt. This was no story, no rumor told by hunters. It was real. The river beast had followed them, and now it wanted blood. The elder tried to rise, but collapsed, too weak to stand. Its eyes locked on the boy, urgent, commanding. The boy's chest tightened. What could he do? He was just a child. He had no weapon, no strength, no power. The beast's roar shook the ground, spraying water into the air. Then something unexpected happened. The beast did not strike. It lowered its massive head, staring at the elder with burning eyes. A sound rumbled deep in its chest, not like anger, but recognition. The elder lifted a trembling hand and spoke again in its strange language. The beast tilted its head, listening. The boy watched, wide-eyed, unable to breathe. It was a conversation. The river beast, a creature of nightmare, was answering the elder's call like a loyal servant. The boy could not believe it. How could this frail, broken elder command such a monster? But the truth was clear. The river was not just water. It was part of the tribe's secrets. The beasts were not wild enemies, they were guardians. And the elder was their master. The beast growled low and the elder coughed, its body shuddering. Still, it gave one last command. Slowly, the creature slid back beneath the waves, vanishing into the deep, leaving only ripples behind. The boy sat frozen. His heart pounded in his ears. He turned to the elder, who lay gasping, weaker than before. You control it? The boy whispered, his voice trembling. The elder's glowing eyes turned to him. After a long pause, it nodded. Then it spoke in broken human words, the voice thin as wind. Guardian of river. The boy's mouth fell open. This elder, who had seemed so helpless, carried power greater than anything he had ever seen. And yet, without the boy's help, it would have died. The elder closed its eyes, breathing hard. The boy felt a sudden fear, not of the elder, not of the beast, but of what might happen next. If the alien tribe learned he had touched their sacred guardian, what would they do to him? Still, when he looked at the elder's frail body, his fear softened. The elder was more than a symbol, more than a guardian. It was a living being, fragile like him, in need of care. The boy pulled his thin blanket from his satchel and placed it over the elder's shoulders. "Rest," he whispered. "I will watch." The night grew darker, the forest alive with strange sounds. The boy kept his eyes on the river, half expecting the beast to return. But the water remained calm, as if the secret of the river had been revealed only to him. At last, the elder stirred again. Its eyes opened, and for the first time the boy thought he saw something almost human in them. Gratitude. Respect. The elder raised a weak hand and touched the boy's chest, just above his heart. "Brave," it whispered. The boy's throat tightened. No one had ever called him that before. Not humans, not anyone. To most he was just a hungry orphan, unwanted and forgotten. But to this dying alien he was something else. The forest wind howled, carrying the smell of rain. The boy knew storms were coming. He had a choice. Leave the elder here to die or carry it deeper into the woods, closer to the alien tribe's lands. Both paths were dangerous. Both could cost him his life. He looked at the elder again, then at the raging river that still seemed to whisper threats. His body was weak, but his spirit felt strong. He had already crossed the river of death once. He could cross the unknown again. The boy clenched his fists and stood. "I will not leave you," he said softly. And somewhere in the darkness the river beast stirred once more, as if listening. The night was heavy with mist. The boy sat beside the alien elder, listening to the sound of the river. The elder slept, its breath slow and shallow, while the boy's eyes stayed open, scanning the shadows. Every crack of a branch, every rustle of leaves made his heart race. The forest was never truly silent, and tonight it felt alive with hidden eyes. Suddenly, the boy's body stiffened. He felt it before he saw it, a strange stillness, as if the air itself held its breath. The forest noises faded. Even the river's roar seemed softer. Then came the sound. A low hum, almost like a song, rising and falling in a rhythm. It was not a bird, not an animal. It was voices. Many voices. The boy's heart pounded. He knew what it meant. The tribe. He stood quickly, but it was too late. From the shadows between the trees, figures emerged. Tall, strong, and glowing faintly under the moonlight. They stepped onto the riverbank. Their bodies were marked with strange symbols that shimmered in the dark. Spears gleamed in their hands, sharp and deadly. The boy backed away, his breath caught in his throat. There were 6 of them, warriors, their silver eyes fixed on him. One pointed a spear straight at his chest. "Human," the warrior hissed, his voice deep and cold. The boy's knees shook, but he stood his ground. He wanted to run, but where could he go? Behind him lay the river, and before him stood the warriors. He was trapped. Then one of the warriors noticed the elder lying weakly on the ground. A gasp rose among them. They spoke quickly in their alien tongue, their voices sharp with shock. The boy could not understand their words, but their faces told the story. They had not expected to find their elder like this. 2 warriors rushed forward, kneeling beside the elder. Their glowing hands hovered above its chest, checking for life. Relief flickered in their eyes when they saw the elder was still breathing. But when their gaze turned back to the boy, that relief hardened into fury. The warrior with the spear stepped closer. "What have you done to him, child?" The boy shook his head quickly. "No, I didn't hurt him. I helped him." His voice cracked, desperate. "The river, he was trapped. I saved him." The warriors did not believe him. Their eyes narrowed and their spears pressed closer. The boy's heart hammered. He could feel the cold metal tip against his chest. One wrong word and it would pierce his skin. Before they could strike, a weak sound cut through the night. "Stop." The warriors froze. Slowly, the elder raised its hand. Its voice was faint but clear. "The boy helped me." The warriors turned, shock written on their faces. They bowed their heads to the elder, lowering their spears. But their eyes still lingered on the boy with suspicion. The elder coughed, struggling to sit up. With great effort, it leaned against one of the warriors. Then with a trembling finger, it pointed to the boy. "Without him, I would be lost to the river." Silence fell. The warriors looked at one another, confused. Never before had a human child been praised by their elder. Never before had one crossed the river and lived. The boy stood still, his chest rising and falling fast. He wanted to believe the danger was gone, but he could see the anger in their eyes. To them, he was still an intruder. Still human. Finally, the tallest warrior stepped forward. His armor shimmered with golden lines, marking him as a leader. His voice was deep, commanding. "This cannot be ignored. A human child has touched our elder. He has entered our river. He must stand before the tribe. The boy's stomach twisted. A trial, a judgment. He knew what that meant. He had heard whispers from other humans about the alien tribe's laws. Trespass was punished by death. 2 warriors grabbed his arms roughly. He struggled, kicking and shouting, but their grip was iron. His small voice echoed in the night. I only helped him. Please, I didn't do anything wrong. But his words fell into silence. The warriors dragged him forward, spears surrounding him. The boy's eyes darted to the elder, who watched with tired eyes. The elder's lips moved, whispering something the boy could not hear. Was it comfort? Was it a warning? He did not know. The group moved into the forest, their glowing bodies lighting the way. The boy stumbled as roots caught his feet, but the warriors pulled him onward. He dared not resist too much. He had seen how sharp their spears were, how easily they could end his life. The deeper they went, the stranger the forest became. The air shimmered faintly, as if filled with invisible threads. Strange plants glowed softly, pulsing with light. The boy felt small and out of place, a trespasser in a world not meant for him. At last the trees opened and he gasped. Before him stood the alien village. Tall stone towers curved like the shapes of waves, glowing with blue fire at their peaks. Bridges of vines connected the towers, and the ground was covered in strange carvings that glimmered underfoot. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward him as they entered, their stares sharp and unwelcoming. Whispers rose in the air. A human child, a trespasser, a danger. The warriors dragged him to the center of the village where a great fire burned. The leader raised his hand and silence fell. This child, he declared, his voice echoing, will face judgment before the tribe. The boy's heart sank. He knew his life was no longer in his hands, and in the shadows of the crowd, hidden eyes watched him closely. Some with anger, some with curiosity, and one pair with hope. The firelight flickered across the alien village, casting long shadows on the ground. The boy stood in the center, his wrists still held tightly by 2 warriors. Around him, dozens of glowing eyes stared from the crowd. The air was heavy with whispers sharp as knives. A human child, a trespasser. He touched the elder. He crossed the sacred river. The boy's chest rose and fell quickly. Fear squeezed his stomach, but he refused to cry. He would not show weakness, not here. His thin frame shook, but his eyes stayed fixed on the great circle of fire. The elder sat nearby, supported by 2 younger aliens. Its face was pale, its breathing rough, but its eyes never left the boy. Whenever the crowd's anger grew too loud, the elder raised a trembling hand, silencing them. The boy could not understand the words spoken around him, but he felt the meaning. The tribe was divided. Some saw him as a danger, others as a strange miracle. At last, the tall leader stepped forward, his golden markings glowing brighter in the firelight. His voice boomed across the gathering. This human crossed the river. He touched the guardian. He carried our elder on his back. Such acts cannot be ignored, the crowd murmured. Some hissed in anger. Others remained silent, waiting. The leader's eyes fixed on the boy, sharp and cold. Human child, do you know what you have done? The boy swallowed hard. His voice was small but steady. I saved him. He would have died in the river. Gasps rose from the crowd. The leader's eyes narrowed. You admit you touched our elder? Yes, the boy answered. His heart raced, but he lifted his chin. Because no one else was there. Because he needed me. A heavy silence followed. The tribe had never heard such words from a human child. For a moment, even the fire seemed to burn quieter. The leader turned to the elder. Elder, is this true? The elder coughed, its voice weak but clear. Yes, the boy risked his life. Without him, I would be lost. The crowd broke into loud cries. Some shouted that the boy must be honored, others that he must be punished. The noise grew so wild it shook the air. The leader raised his hand and silence fell once more. His eyes glowed like burning stars. Then let the truth be tested. Words are not enough. The human will face the trial of trust. The boy's heart sank. He had never heard those words before, but the way the crowd reacted told him it was dangerous. Some cheered, others whispered in fear. He clenched his fists. What is the trial? He asked, his voice trembling. The leader's expression was hard as stone. A test to prove if your heart is true. To prove if the spirits of this forest accept you or reject you. 2 warriors stepped forward, dragging him away from the fire. The boy twisted and pulled, but their grip was like iron. He shouted, "I didn't come here for a trial. I just wanted to help." But no one listened. The path twisted deeper into the village until they reached a stone arch covered in glowing vines. Strange symbols pulsed faintly on the surface, alive with light. The boy stared wide-eyed. It felt like the air itself changed here, thicker, heavier, buzzing with unseen power. Beyond the arch stood a dark cave, its entrance wide like the open mouth of a beast. The air flowing from it was cold, carrying a smell of damp stone and old secrets. The boy's stomach tightened. He felt as if the cave was watching him, waiting. The leader's voice echoed behind him. "Inside lies the chamber of spirits. There rests the sacred stone. If your heart is false, the cave will destroy you. If your heart is true, you will return with the stone and the tribe will hear your voice." The boy's knees shook. He wanted to shout that he was only a child, that he did not belong in their trials, that he had already risked enough. But then his eyes found the elder again, carried on a seat of vines at the edge of the crowd. The elder's glowing gaze met his, steady and calm. No fear, only trust. The boy's breathing slowed. He remembered the river, the beast, the cold water dragging at his body. He had survived that. He could survive this too. He lifted his chin and nodded. "I'll do it." The warriors released him and he stepped forward alone. His small figure entered the archway, swallowed by the shadows of the cave. The crowd waited in silence, their glowing eyes fixed on the dark entrance. Whispers rippled like waves. No human had ever walked into the chamber of spirits. Most believed no human could. Inside, the boy's feet touched cold stone. The air was heavy, pressing against his chest. Strange lights flickered along the walls, shapes of animals, rivers, stars, all glowing faintly before fading into darkness. A voice whispered through the cave, low and ghostly. He could not tell if it was inside his head or around him. "Why are you here, child?" The boy froze. His throat went dry. But then he forced out words, shaky but honest. "Because I saved him. Because it was right." The lights flared, brighter now, twisting into moving shapes. A woman's face appeared on the wall, soft and familiar. His mother. She looked at him with kind eyes. His chest ached. "Mother." The vision spoke, but the voice was not hers. "Would you give your life for a stranger? Would you risk everything, even if no one thanked you?" The boy's eyes burned, but he nodded. "Yes, because it's what they would have wanted." "What I want." The lights shifted again. Now his father's face appeared, stern but warm. The boy felt tears sting his eyes. "Then walk forward," the voice commanded. His feet moved step by trembling step. At the end of the chamber, on a stone pedestal, a glowing crystal pulsed with light. The sacred stone. The boy reached out. His small fingers touched the surface. The light flared, wrapping around him warm and fierce. For a moment it felt as if the whole cave was alive with his heartbeat. Outside, the tribe gasped as the cave's entrance glowed bright. The leader's hard eyes widened, and the elder smiled faintly. The boy stepped back into the firelight. The glowing stone clutched tightly in his hands. He had passed the trial of trust. The boy stood before the alien tribe. The glowing stone clutched tightly in his hands. His chest rose and fell, his face pale but his eyes bright. He had walked into the chamber of spirits, faced visions of his deepest fears, and returned alive. The firelight made the stone shine like a star, casting strange shadows on the warriors' faces. The crowd murmured in awe. No human had ever touched the sacred stone. No human had ever been accepted by the cave. For a moment the boy thought it was over, that he had proven himself. But the leader stepped forward, his golden markings glowing fiercely. His eyes were sharp, his voice cold. "The cave has accepted you," he said. "But the spirits are not the only judges. Courage must also be tested. Words and visions are not enough. Actions will decide." The boy's heart sank. Another trial. Another danger. He clenched the stone tighter, his small hands trembling. "What else must I do?" The leader pointed toward the forest where the darkness grew thick and wild. "Beyond the village lives a beast of shadow. It has stolen from us, broken our hunters, and filled the woods with fear. None have faced it and returned. You will face it, alone." Gasps rose from the tribe. Even the warriors shifted uneasily. The boy's chest tightened. A beast alone? His body was already weak from the river and the cave. How could he fight something that even warriors feared? He glanced at the elder, who sat with tired eyes, watching him closely. The elder raised a hand, its voice weak but steady. "Too much. He is only a child." But the leader silenced him with a look. Courage knows no age. His eyes turned back to the boy. Refuse and you prove your heart is weak. Accept and you may live. The boy swallowed hard. Fear clawed at his chest, but deep inside something stronger stirred. He remembered the elder's whisper by the river. Brave. He remembered his mother's words about kindness, his father's lessons about never turning away from what was right. If he walked away now, everything he had done would be wasted. He nodded slowly. I'll face it. The crowd erupted in shock. The leader's eyes glimmered with cold satisfaction. Then prepare. 2 warriors led the boy into the forest. Their glowing bodies lit the path, but soon they stopped, pointing into the dark. It lives beyond this line, one said. Go alone. If you survive, the tribe will know your courage. If you fall, the forest will keep your bones. The boy took a deep breath, clutching the glowing stone for strength. His legs shook, but he forced them to move. Step by step, he entered the darkness until the light of the village disappeared behind him. The forest here was different. The air was heavy, filled with the smell of damp earth and rot. The trees twisted like claws, and strange sounds echoed in the distance. Every shadow seemed alive, every rustle a threat. The boy's small hands shook, but he tightened his grip on the stone. Then he heard it, a growl, low and deep, like thunder rumbling underground. His chest froze. Slowly he turned his head. 2 eyes glowed in the dark. Yellow. Burning. They blinked once, then moved closer. The beast stepped into view. Its body was massive, covered in black fur that shimmered like smoke. Its jaws were wide, teeth long and sharp, dripping with saliva. Its claws scraped against the stone ground, each step sending shivers through the boy's body. The boy stumbled back, his heart racing. He wanted to run, but his legs would not obey. The beast growled again, louder now, shaking the air. I don't want to fight you, the boy whispered, his voice breaking. But I must prove myself. The beast lunged. The boy screamed and dove aside. The claws slashed the ground where he had stood, tearing stone like paper. His chest burned as he scrambled to his feet, clutching the stone. The beast turned, its glowing eyes fixed on him. Fear nearly crushed him, but then he remembered the river. The serpent beast that had obeyed the elder's voice. These creatures were not only killers, they were guardians. They listened to strength, not strength of muscle, but strength of spirit. The boy forced himself to stand tall even as his legs shook. He raised the glowing stone high. The light spread across the trees, casting shadows away. I am not your enemy, he shouted, his voice trembling but loud. I am here to prove I am brave. The beast paused, its head tilting. Its growl softened, though its eyes still burned. The boy's chest rose and fell quickly. He stepped closer, though every instinct told him to run. If you wish to take me, then do it. But I will not run. I will not hide. I am not weak. For a long moment, silence filled the forest. The beast's hot breath hit the boy's face, its claws inches from his chest. He clenched his fists, refusing to look away. His heart screamed with fear, but his eyes stayed steady. Then the beast pulled back. Slowly, it lowered its head to the ground as if bowing. The boy gasped. His knees nearly gave out, but he stayed standing. The beast growled softly, then turned and melted into the shadows, vanishing as if it had never been there. The forest grew quiet again. The boy fell to his knees, tears filling his eyes. He had not fought with strength. He had faced with courage. And the beast had accepted it. When he returned to the village, the crowd erupted in shock. The boy's face was pale, his body weak, but he walked with steady steps. The leader's eyes narrowed, but the elder smiled faintly, whispering one word: courage. The boy walked back into the alien village with slow steps. His clothes were torn, his feet cut by stones, but his head was held high. The glowing stone still pulsed in his hands, and the memory of the shadow beast lingered in his chest. He had looked death in the eyes and had not run. He had proven himself. The crowd of aliens pressed forward, their glowing eyes wide with disbelief. Whispers spread quickly like fire through dry grass. He returned alive. The beast did not kill him. The spirits accepted him. The boy's heart pounded as he stopped in the center of the fire circle. The warriors who had dragged him there earlier now stared at him in silence. Some with anger, some with wonder. The elder was carried forward on a seat of vines. Its frail body still shook with weakness, but its eyes glowed brighter than before. When it looked at the boy, there was no mistrust, no doubt, only pride. The leader stepped out from the crowd. His golden markings shone fiercely in the firelight, and his face was as hard as stone. He circled the boy slowly like a hunter measuring his prey. "This child," the leader said, his voice booming across the village, "has done what no human has done. He crossed the river. He carried our elder. He entered the chamber of spirits. He faced the beast of shadow. He returned alive." The crowd murmured louder, their voices rising and falling like waves. The leader raised his hand, silencing them. His sharp eyes turned back to the boy. "And yet, he is human. The tribe has never called a human friend. The tribe has never accepted one of them into our circle. Why should we change now?" The boy's stomach tightened. He gripped the stone tighter, though his arms trembled from exhaustion. He wanted to speak, but his throat felt dry. Could words really change their hearts? Before he could answer, the elder raised its weak voice. "Because he is different." All eyes turned to the elder. The old alien leaned forward, supported by vines, its glowing eyes scanning the tribe. "When I was trapped by the river, no warrior stood beside me. No spirit carried me. But this child, this orphan human, risked his life. He saved me, not for reward, not for glory, but because it was right." The elder's words cut through the silence like a blade. The crowd stirred, but no one spoke. The elder lifted a trembling hand, pointing to the boy. He showed courage. He showed kindness. He showed trust. Are these not the values of our tribe? If we reject him, then we reject the very lessons we teach our children. The boy's chest tightened. No one had ever spoken for him like this before. No one had ever defended him. The leader's eyes burned with conflict. For a long moment he said nothing. The fire crackled, the crowd waited, and the boy stood still, his heart pounding like a drum. Finally, the leader raised his spear high into the air. "Then let it be decided," he shouted. "The tribe will vote. Life or exile, acceptance or rejection. Let every voice be heard." The crowd erupted, their glowing eyes flashing as they raised their hands. Some shouted for acceptance, others cried for rejection. The voices clashed, filling the night with thunder. The boy's knees shook. His whole life hung in this moment. At last, the noise died down. The leader looked across the crowd, his face unreadable. Slowly, he lowered his spear. "The tribe has spoken." Silence fell. The boy's breath caught in his throat. The leader stepped closer, his golden markings shining brighter than ever. His voice rang clear. "From this day forward, the orphan human is no longer an outsider. He is one of us, a friend of the tribe." The crowd gasped, then roared. Some cheered loudly, others looked away in anger, but none dared to challenge the decision. The boy's eyes widened. He could hardly believe what he had heard. For the first time in his life, he was not just a lost orphan. He belonged. The elder smiled faintly, its glowing eyes warm. "You are no longer alone," it whispered. The boy's throat tightened. He looked around at the village, the glowing towers, the carved stones, the warriors, and the children peeking shyly from behind their parents. He saw fear, yes, but also curiosity. And in some eyes he saw respect. Tears filled his eyes, but he did not hide them. He let them fall, each drop burning like fire and cooling like rain. For the first time, they were not tears of loneliness. They were tears of hope. The leader raised his spear again, his voice loud. "Let all remember this night. A human child proved himself before the river, the spirits, and the beast. Let his courage be a story told for generations." The crowd cheered. The fire roared higher, and the night sky seemed to shimmer with unseen stars. The boy clutched the glowing stone against his chest. His journey had begun with loneliness by the river, but it had ended with a family he never expected. The elder's words echoed in his heart. Brave, kind, trustworthy. He was no longer an orphan. He was part of something greater, and as he looked back at the dark river that had once threatened to take everything from him, he felt no fear. Only strength, because he knew now sometimes the smallest choice, the simplest act of kindness could change not only one life, but an entire world.